Stay with us. Channel 4 News. Tony Segreto. Michelle Gillen. Brian Norcross. Live. This is the Channel 4 News Nightcast.
It was called the Hurricane Andrew story, Hollywood's version of what you lived through, all told in 2 hours.
But thousands here in South Florida are still coping with the reality of what the storm left behind.
9 months after Andrew, the work to rebuild continues.
We have team coverage. Brian Norcross now joins us. Good evening.
Good evening.
What'd you think?
It was interesting. We'll talk more about it in just a minute. But one thing you could feel in the movie was the tension building as the storm approached. Now, 9 months later, it's hard to know if Andrew did more damage to buildings or to people and their spirit. We'll not know for some time which will come back first. We begin our team coverage tonight with Nightcast reporter David Bloom. He's live in Sky 4. David.
Well, Brian, 9 months ago, as you well know, as we looked out from Sky 4 onto South Dade County, it was literally a black hole. People were shining their flashlights up at our helicopter to try to catch our attention. In some neighborhoods, it took months to restore power, but as we found out today, it will take a lot longer to restore hope.
It's been 9 months since Hurricane Andrew. In 1 week, a new hurricane season begins. The difference between then and now is dramatic, at least from the air. It's only when you get back down to earth that you realize re-roofing homes is far different than rebuilding lives.
People's moved away. People that you knew, they're gone. The life's just not the same. I can't explain it to you, but it's not. It's just not the same.
I don't have anybody to play with anymore, and all my friends moved away.
Do you ever dream about the hurricane?
Yes.
Nightmares? Tell me about it.
I think I dreamed about it killed us.
There you go. That's the way to look at it.
This ragtag group of Little Leaguers plays baseball where Homestead's 10th city used to be. This year, their coach is more concerned with how his kids are coping than whether they can connect on his curve.
There you go. Hold it. Hold it.
All these guys are from Florida City. And since Hurricane Andrew hit, they basically had nothing to do. And this way, we're trying to keep the kids off of the streets and trying to get them to do something productive.
Since the storm, I've been having bad days until I came out here, play baseball.
Life in South Florida isn't back to normal, but it's slowly getting there.
Brian, in the 9 months since Hurricane Andrew hit, the federal government has spent, at last count, $1.4 billion on hurricane relief. Almost $500 million of that on cleaning up debris. And yet, a federal government spokesman told me today that 9 months later, more than 3,000 families are still living in mobile homes and trailers waiting for permanent shelter. Brian?
All right, David Bloom live in Sky 4. Thank you. How well I remember that being just black out there. It was amazing to see the lights. The Hurricane Andrew story found a captive audience here in South Florida. Now, as our team coverage continues, those who lived through the real storm critique Hollywood's version. Nightcast reporter Kerry Sanders joins us live from South Dade. Kerry.
I'm in Saga Bay. You don't have to go too far down in South Dade to find people who have a critique of this movie. Some people I spoke to tonight told me that they were in tears watching this movie. Other people told me it was just something they didn't want to watch. They decided not to because they did not want to relive this experience. I spoke to one family who is going through this like so many others down here, and watching this movie put a lump in their throat.
Calm down.
Hurricane Andrew stole everything the Gonzalez family owned. Their furniture, their clothes, the house they rented was destroyed. For 6 months, the family of 4 lived in this itsy-bitsy trailer.
The house. So this was our home sweet home. And we had water, and we used somebody else's bathroom. We had some neighbors that had a bathroom, and we used their bathroom for showering purposes.
Definitely a tight squeeze.
Oh, yes, it was.
On this night, in their new home, with the worst behind them, the Gonzalez family settled in to watch the Hurricane movie.
Exchange.
The furniture they sit on was pulled from the piles of debris. It's a comfortable living room made uncomfortable by tonight's topic.
I don't know. I get very scared. I get sweaty. It brings fear. Fear. That's the first thing you think of when you see that. And how could you survive that?
Is it hard for you to sit here and watch this movie?
All it is, I've been eating a whole pack of pumpkin seeds because I can't believe it. I just can't believe I'm watching it.
Now, Ana Gonzalez decided that she didn't want her youngest child to watch this movie because she felt it was going to bring up too many bad memories. The people I spoke to tonight told me, as I spoke to, for instance, Mary Wagner, she told me that when she listened to this movie, it helped fill in some of the holes because, quite honestly, she has blanked out on a lot of what happened. She's been going to a group where people can support one another after this hurricane, and she said this movie she thought might be therapeutic because it might help her recall things. And she said as she was watching this movie tonight, it helped her remember things that she really did not quite remember. Brian?
Carrie, did you have any sense from those folks that as they were watching the movie, their emotions kind of swung back and forth? I shouldn't watch this. Oh, okay, I'm dealing with it well. I mean, the people I was with seemed to react that way.
Yes, some people, you know, it's one of those things where you want to watch it, but you don't want to watch it. It was kind of like, we sat in one family's home, and they sort of like this, and then they sort of turned away and didn't want to watch it, and then they went back up and looked at it. So they wanted to watch it, but they didn't. As I say, Ana Gonzalez didn't want her youngest child to watch it because she feared it was just going to cause perhaps some more emotional problems. And, you know, fair to say, a lot of people are still dealing with the problems associated with this, the psychological problems.
All right, Carrie. Thank you very much. Live in Saga Bay. So.
What'd you think?
Well, I had sort of two reactions. One was I really did feel the tension of it coming. I could clearly remember Sunday night at 6 o'clock what we were doing here, and you know, as it got closer to midnight and over, I really felt that. But then I didn't think they captured it after the storm. I mean, you know, one of the things we hoped was, and I think for folks outside of town, they probably thought, oh my God, it was so bad.
Yeah.
But what we realized was that by the time they got to shooting the movie in the spring, it had been cleaned up so much that the roads were open. The roads weren't open. They were totally closed.
I think one of the points that it did bring out, and I watched it in the sense as many viewers around the country probably would, because I, in fact, monitored what you all did here from New York. What it brought back to me was how much information you really did impart, which is what this is really all about. And I think, you know, for us who know you, it's hard to find even a great actor who will do you justice in what you did at that time. I mean that. So I think for those of us who weren't here then, it strikes you with the powerfulness of what this medium can do, and journalists like yourself.
And I'm curious to see how it did play across the country. I'd be more curious to get the reaction from someone in South Carolina or Iowa than even the people who lived through it, because there's a reference point there that those people don't have.
We're really too close to it. I'm going to be interested to see, after we think about it another day, what everybody thinks.
Exactly.
We'll talk about it again tomorrow.
And, you know, we really can't say it's time to move on because, in fact, there's so much important things that still need to be done. 9 months after Andrew, the Red Cross, for example, here in Miami, says it is in desperate need of volunteers. Right now, they only have 500 volunteers. They need 2,700 to help out if, by chance, another major disaster should hit this season. Anyone who would like to be trained as a volunteer should call the Red Cross at 326-6687.